Here.
He went.
Yeah, it's okay. No?
I got wedges on.
All right, good evening. Ooh, wow, that's loud. Woo. All right, my bad. Sorry, that was really loud. Okay, good evening, everybody. How you doing tonight? I'm like standing up here by myself. They were louder than you guys were. I said, good evening, everybody. How you doing tonight? All right, for those of you who don't know, we're live broadcasting this via the web. So if you have any families, friends, anybody that you want to watch it, just go to our conference website page, nationalconferenceonems.com, and they can actually click on the link, the live link to webcast it. We can wave to your friends, your family, and everything else like that. They will be watching it. It's being broadcasted from right over here. So before we get started, we can't do this, obviously, without the help of a ton of people, an absolute ton of people. So the first thing I want to do is, if I could, just have our sponsors. Next slide. If we could have our sponsors, I want to acknowledge them. Atlantic Health System, Dia Medical, Gumard, who's our simulators on the stage tonight, Lourdes Health System, Hackensack Meridian Seton Hall, Bergen Community College, Real Life Sim, 579 Solutions, and Mount Laurel EMS. Without their help, we could not have put this on. So we want to definitely say thank you to them. The next thing I'd like to do also is, if I could, all of the teams that competed yesterday in the sim games, where are you guys? Oh, yeah, in the audience? Perfect. Come on. I have my Empress guys that are up here tonight, so they're already behind me, but if I could have, if there's anybody from Hackensack Meridian BLS, Atlantic Care EMS ALS, Inglewood Hospital ALS, Jersey City Medical Center ALS, Laurel Lakes Fire, McCade Ambulance, Robert Wood Johnson ALS, Robert Wood Johnson BLS, and Valley Hospital. Are any of you guys out there? I know you are because I'm looking right at you. Could you please come up? I need you guys to come up for 1 second. Excellent. I wanted to make sure that everybody got to see the teams. Our Empress guys are right here. Empress guys, if you can raise your hand from FD. You got it? Empress right here from New York. Yeah. We wanted to make sure that everybody got to see these teams because they were all absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And it was when you watch these guys perform, there was literally almost no difference. It was incredible. And the amount of time and effort they put it in, this is why we do it, is for these guys right here. And I wanted to make sure that they got recognized in the front. So please, 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 again, give them a big round of applause. All right. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Yep, we got it. Thanks so much, guys. Next thing I want to do is actually thank our team, all of the judges, and all of our participants here. They're listed up on the site here. They put in countless hours. They started planning this literally a year out. We'll get done this week, and then we'll probably get a phone call from Jen next week saying, all right, I got an idea for the scenario for next year. So it literally starts about a week after we leave. So it's absolutely incredible, and we could not have done it with all of their help as well. So if I could get a big round of applause for all of our judges, please. For those of you that are not aware, the teams that will be competing tonight, there's going to be 2 rounds. We switched it up a little bit, and Jen's going to explain the scenario in just a minute. But the round 1 will be Jersey City BLS, Capital Health ALS, Toms River BLS, and FDNY A team. That will be our round 1 teams. And our round 2 is going to be Inglewood BLS. All right. JFK ALS. All right. Capital BLS. And FDNY ALS, Team B. I'm going to hand it over to Jen. She's going to talk to you about the scenario and talk about how we developed it.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking the time out at a conference to come and support simulation. You know how passionate we all are up here about changing healthcare, patient safety, and provider safety. I just wanted to give you a background picture of where we've come from. The prelim scenario is actually available on Facebook Live at the Department of Health website. Their link actually, and you could see what the participants actually were challenged to overcome. As I say, these scenarios are driven to do. We focus all of our goals, and these scenarios are driven out of hashtag, if you could advance, Mike, hashtag EMS Forward. If you're an educator, an operations leader, somebody leading anything related to EMS, you should know this site. 10 patient safety goals. We choose multiple aspects of it and work it into a sim competition that's clinically driven and challenging to improve patient and provider safety. So please check them out. Bariatric care was our focus on the prelims, and I have to tell you, it was fierce competition. We had our ALS team in a surgical suite for bariatric care gone awry, and we had our BLS members simultaneously in the waiting room with an anxious and mildly respiratory compromised bariatric patient. And it was a really interesting exchange to see how it unfolded to get here to tonight. So what are we possibly going to do tonight? I said at to the teams, I always use things that are out of the headlines, and Les Barta and I have chosen, you can click ahead, Mike. It's the Hoboken train crash reenacted right here in Atlantic City. You can click one more time. And we have so many participants coming in with the teams because we're going to set up EMS branch, and we're going to do both clinical medicine and ICS, incident management oversight. So we're switching things up to keep people curious about how to get their name on the trophy. All right, so we'll be starting in literally, I would say 5 minutes or less, if everybody could just take their seats, and thank you again.
Breaking news from New Jersey, where a train packed with commuters crashed into a station a short time ago. This happened in Hoboken, just across the Hudson River from New York City's financial district. Witnesses say the train ran into the station at high speed.
Right at the height of rush hour, too, there are preliminary reports of many injuries. Police and fire crews are at the scene right now. CBS Evening News executive producer Steve Kappas is at the Hoboken station and joins us now live on the phone. Steve, what can you tell us? What happened?
Well, Nora, what I'm seeing right now are probably about 60 or 70 people. They each have tags around their necks. They have been assessed by emergency medical personnel in this triage process, and the more severely injured are being whisked out of here on ambulances and stretchers.
Corticans, REMS, the incident has escalated. Repeat, the incident has escalated. Requesting 4 additional MABs, 2 additional MCRUs forthwith to the job.
Connor, buddy.
I can't.
Somebody help me.
I can't.
I don't know what to do.
It's too heavy for me. I know.
Connor, you gotta go to the zoo, buddy.
Help! Somebody! You're pinned.
Connor, answer me. It's all right,
I don't know what to do.
It's all right. Stop crying. It's okay. Help! Can you help me take this?
They're coming. I see them. They're coming. The rescue people are coming.
We gotta do something. What do you want to do?
Oh my God.
Are you a nurse?
You're
Help!
bleeding all over. I can't get it off.
Someone's got to get that camera out of
can't.
here.
I don't know what to do.
Get that camera out of here. Connor, buddy. It's all right.
I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. You're bleeding all over the place, man.
It's okay, pal. Sorry.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
We're going to go to the zoo soon, all right? It's going to take a little bit longer.
I can't get this
All
off.
right, pal. All right.
I can't do it. I can't. I don't.
He's crying.
I know. Look.
Can you lift this up? Can you get this off?
Is anybody coming? Oh, they're here. All right, buddy. Listen, they're coming.
We gotta do something about this.
All right,
Help over here. Help.
Yo, I got a sick kid over here.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
All right, buddy, they're coming. You're all right. You're all right. He's alive. It's okay. He gets really upset.
That's it? You give him a sticker? What is this, kindergarten?
Hey, yo!
Look,
we got a sick
he's
kid.
bleeding all over the place.
Listen, handlebars. We got a sick kid over here.
Yeah. I can walk. I'm not.
Is he okay?
I'm here. I don't know.
Hi, how you doing? Listen,
You gave.
I can walk, but I'm not
They
leaving.
just gave you a sticker.
I'm not
What
leaving.
the hell?
I need help. I need help.
Okay.
Where are you
I
going?
can't get it off you right now. I can't get it off you.
All right. So we have an amputation.
I don't know what to do.
We're going to get a tourniquet on board.
You can use it anywhere.
No.
You're not interested? All right, just keep him calm.
Get that camera out of here.
So right now, ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm applying a tourniquet so we can control the bleeding. Okay?
Yo,
I can't.
you got a patch on.
We will use we can do it safely, okay?
He's crying. There's a pole on him. What do you think what's going on?
They
There's
gave
a
you
pole
a
on him.
sticker and a.
He was in a tree.
bracelet.
Connor, buddy, it's okay.
Guys,
He's crying. But he's coughing.
You gotta do something for him.
Red tag. He's red tag.
What are we setting up?
Who can?
Come on, you gotta do
Who
something.
can touch this stuff? I can't touch it. Who can? Find someone that can. Who? What is, are they coming?
You gotta do something
Fireman.
for him.
Are you a fireman?
Come on, man, it's my brother.
Yes. Yeah. Hello? Oh, good. Hi. I need help.
Guys, over here.
Start bending over
Here. Come on, my brother.
Someone has to move this. Where are they?
She's just walking around. He's
All right,
bleeding
well,
all
let's
over the
go.
place.
What are we doing? Connor, buddy, it's all right. I'm
the hell
sorry
is
I'm
that?
yelling, pal. I'm sorry, pal.
They gave you a freaking sticker.
That's fine.
Guys, you gotta help him. What?
Okay, what?
Wait, you gave him a breathing, correct?
He's
bleeding
coughing.
all over the place. You gotta do something.
So what do we want to do? Like,
Why are you just standing there? Help him.
what does that mean?
3 minutes out.
I don't even know what that means.
You gotta do something.
He's hurt. He's painful.
Okay,
He's in pain.
He's bleeding all over the place, and you give him a
Hey,
sticker.
look at me. All right? The power's going to be on
He's
this
crying.
side, all right?
He's crying and coughing.
There's power on the line right there. Let me just take a look at you, all right? Let me just take a look at you.
This is not normal for him. He doesn't cry. He just.
He's bleeding all over the place. You guys are giving him
He's got stuff all on his shirt's ripped. His face is all black.
Okay.
I don't know. That doesn't look good. That doesn't look normal. I don't know what that means. What is that?
Hey,
What is this?
I'm going to stabilize your wound, okay?
I like drilling with the next guy, but this is ridiculous. What are you doing? Okay. You look important. What are you doing? I'm sorry for yelling, pal. It's all right. It's okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
Is anybody gonna give him a Band-Aid or something? Anybody? You look pretty important. What's going on here? I don't know.
This guy's taking pictures. They give you a friggin' sticker.
It's gonna be okay. We were just in a train crash, and this is. You're welcome.
I can't. I don't know what to do.
Something's gotta happen.
Get this off my chest. How many times?
Who are these people?
Get this off my chest.
I'm sitting in wires.
Get this off.
Someone's got to go. Maybe he doesn't. He's got more bags. What is he doing?
So what I'm doing right now
How you doing?
is I'm placing
down. Okay. Who are you? Who are you? What? Okay, great. He was too. I'm his uncle.
I think the bleeding stopped. I think you're going to be okay.
Bro, I can't breathe.
Right now, I can't stop you.
Guys, you guys got to help me here. Why are you all sitting around talking on your radio? Somebody's got to help. Guys, no signs of mass injury. I know. Somebody help my brother. Guys, you need somebody. Somebody help me.
There you go. Perfect. And we have...
Guys, my brother's not doing good. Somebody. Somebody got to help me. My brother's he's having problems.
I got you.
Somebody. Why is everybody ignoring me?
I'm checking the head eyes.
Somebody's got to help me. He's not answering me. Yo, bro,
It's all right,
Bro, come on. Stay with me, my man.
It's all right.
Brother, come on.
He's going to help. He looks like he knows what he's doing.
Guys, somebody.
What else
my brother's not talking to me.
Does he take any medication?
What the hell is going on?
He's intubated, correct? He is. He's intubated.
All right, where is everybody? Okay, did we check lung sounds?
Not yet. I'm getting it.
Guys, somebody.
So we're going to connect this patient to our ventilator. It's going to be
breathing.
Keep the flow. Ventilator inbound. You can't stop ventilating.
He's not talking.
I have the tube.
No,
you're doing it great. So perfect. I want you to stay here and hold his hand.
Somebody help me.
All right, tube is secure. Very good. Let's go ahead. Very good. He's pretty stable. We're going to get a line. We're going to get TXA. Okay. All right, so I need, how many ALS transport do we have? We have 8 We have chest wise. We're going to need somebody help me. At least BLS, plus we need one. I don't understand.
Somebody help me. He's like, I don't know. He's not talking to me.
Red tag is
What are you doing? He's been controlled. You got to turn it down there. What?
He was talking to me and then he just stopped.
This is we're working on here in BLS, and we're working on your video as well.
His name's Dan. I know he's my brother. He was yelling a minute ago. He's not talking anymore.
Untitled. Yo, help me, man. Help me.
I've been holding his bandage on his chest, but now he's not talking.
Bring it off to the medical transportation committee. We need PD on scene to control the crowd.
He just stopped talking to me.
Deputy Anderson Road.
Keep breathing. You can't breathe? What's going on with it? Why can't you breathe?
All power has been secured. All power has been secured.
You gotta, come on, you gotta take care of him. What's happening to him? Who? What's going on? Yeah, I know he got hurt. I was here with him. I saw the damn thing fall on him. What does that mean? Right now, he's gonna help you. He's gonna help you, Dave. He's gonna help you.
I'm making sure that I have the 5 rights right there. Right goes right time.
Yeah.
Right
He's gonna take care of him.
What can I help
We're having a BLS strike team approximately 5 minutes out. We're having an ALS strike team approximately 10 minutes out. Do you need anything else?
What is that? What is that? What are you doing?
We're going to clean the area with alcohol. You know, paint down. He says it hurts. Now, paint down in the space. We're going to go ahead and insert catheter. I'm looking for a rush of air. When I have a rush of air. What do I see? Blowing airway? Four, I need 2 more. Can I appreciate it? What is it? Is that bad? Is that bad?
I didn't even poke a hole. What does that mean? What are you doing?
Hey, double check. What that's doing is that's getting what they're doing. It's okay. He's really hot.
Update. Currently standing.
We have fluid on board. Andrew! TXA, we're going to have 1 gram TXA. Over 10 minutes. TXA here. Okay, what's my pulse ox when I recheck it?
All right, appreciate it.
Pulse ox still sure that it's 100% ox. I'm going to. Okay.
Yes,
He's currently pinned down. He can't breathe.
You gotta help him.
Until I have no air in my line. What is a Frank? Someone needs to talk to me.
So right now, he's double check my palpation line here. Make sure that
You did that. You told me you did that.
No.
What do you need here? Here. Closed up. That's what I got. Yeah, right there.
Are we just sitting down? Does he have any medical history at all?
What are you doing with that? He's got autism. He's got autism. Okay. Huh? You can't correct the med.
What are you doing?
You're giving your landmark?
You're putting a needle in his heart.
Something.
We got equal chest size. I got good bilateral lung sounds at this time. Post decompression. I want to double check my pulse oxygen. Am I still hypoxic?
So can I insert or?
Right now, so that's going in over 10 minutes, so we have that.
70%. I'm palpating the back of the neck. I'm looking for anything here. Do I notice anything? Can I breathe now?
Everybody, can you hear me?
I get what I see.
This is just covered in
Abdomen is
blood.
inaccessible. All right. So is he going to be okay?
He's going to be. What? All right.
So let's go ahead. We're going to increase my volume from 480. I'm going to turn that up to 500. My younger brother.
Yeah.
Andrew fires 5 minutes out.
5 minutes out. Thank you.
Running, we have TXA running.
Very good. I got a single needle decompressed, eagle chest rise and expansion. About 70%. I just turned on my total volume.
Got a hole.
That only happens on TV.
I know. We're gonna get you can breathe now, right?
All right.
Okay, you breathe. All right. We're gonna get you out. We're gonna get you out. You can breathe now, so.
You can breathe so much better. Listen, there's probably a lot of stuff going on.
He's still bleeding here.
All right, listen, you got a 5 over there, right?
Yeah. Okay.
We're going to work together.
All right, so we still have Untitled Chapter, correct? Increase our title volume. I have equal writing dog abdomen.
Assessing lung sounds. Somebody, come on, we gotta go to the zoo. We gotta go to the zoo, pal. What are you doing?
You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay.
There you go. All right.
You're gonna be okay.
Okay, so right now I hear wheezing in the middle.
You didn't do it right.
Well, the limitation on the head. So, my hands are all that.
It's in? Okay. What's my feedback? Do I have a pulse? Do you have a pulse?
I'm going to help you as best I can. You believe that,
Okay,
right?
but it's still positive pulse.
I'm going to help you.
Is that good? Yes. So he's doing okay? Okay, you all right?
Yeah. He's here.
For response.
Yeah. He just said my
Silence
brother's
at
life.
this time. Fireman come in. It says something about fire. You've been leaving here. I'm going to finish.
Inline nav.
Why that guy first?
Is that good?
He's 7 years old. Focus on me. Count to 3 weeks for BPM, okay? 1, 2, 3. Halfway. 1, 2, 3. Halfway.
He says everything hurts.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
We're gonna get you out of here, Dan. We're gonna get you out of here.
1, 2, 3.
Stay with Ed. He's doing in line yet.
Get that camera, Fred. Break that camera over your head. He's just taking pictures of my neck behind. I don't need him on YouTube later on.
Right there.
Yeah, well, my sister feels like an hour. My sister sees this on YouTube. I doubt that.
You're gonna get him out of here now?
Connor, buddy.
Hey, Kev, where?
He needs to go to the hospital, right? We gotta go.
Why won't you let him go over there? He'll get to work. I have to get to work. Is he okay?
What does that mean? No one's coming to get these people. On what? There's people in
I pay your. Can we get him out of here?
What is this thing? What's an EKG?
All right. Dan, we're gonna get you out of here, man. We're gonna get you to the hospital.
Did you get credit for having him on?
We gotta call mom.
Is anybody gonna take us out of here? Like, are we just gonna like stay here forever? I've heard that if I hear that one more time, I'm gonna get really pissed off. I've heard something about the fire department for 20 minutes now.
Ventilating, we're doing good. What's up?
All right, that's good, right?
Trach being ventilated, one breath every 35 seconds right now.
Am I doing this right? Okay, I don't think so.
Does he take any medication?
Oh, he takes Risperdal. Just autism.
Oh my God, he's going to stick something sharper.
No.
Oh my God. What is he doing now?
Sitting on a tray.
Where? What are you doing?
No. Yeah. Oh, buddy. What are you giving? You're coughing. Good job. Where's he going? Where's he going? There's like 4 people helping him over there. Get out of here with the phone, man. Get out of here. Yes. Why is he doing? He had all those other things. Okay. Is coughing good?
Still at 8? Still at 8 on
Is that good? What's that?
Okay.
Can I have a green tag?
All right, good.
Green. I need a green. I need a green. Give me 1 second.
Bring it with you. Bring it with you. Bring it with you. How do we get him out of here?
What do you do? What do you do? What do you do when he gets back? How do we make that not get worse? How do we do that? Am I doing this right? I'm getting a little tired. I'm a little scared. No.
We're running the bag right now. All right, good. Physical exam's done? Okay, good. I need fire to clear this. Fire's on the way.
Where are they all going? How come they get to leave?
I thought you guys were the fire department.
Working on what?
We're dispatching additional
Why can't you get him out? You put a needle in his chest and you can't get him out of this? Fire's still
good.
Okay. I don't know.
I gotta get him to the zoo. So, all right, buddy.
Your shirt says
No
fire
change.
department.
All right,
Why can't you
Tom.
get him out? Pulse ox?
Okay, buddy.
Yeah. What is that? Did you give him that?
So, between second and third intercostal, we're going to do a second knee compression. He's so close. In the site circular motion.
You have one?
Yes, I have one in my hand.
Got it. Yeah.
Is it gonna hurt him?
I'm fine. Just take care of him. Yeah, I'm talking to you. I better have a pulse rate.
All right, I'm gonna.
Just take care of my brother. Don't worry about me.
Get a rush of air.
You still have a good carotid?
Did we have a rush of air?
Just take care of my little brother.
Trauma.
I'm fine. Just take care of my little brother. Yeah.
Strike 2 is 4 minutes out. LS Strike 2 is local 4.
Just get my brother out of here. Yes. I do not have that.
What's my blood pressure?
Dude, I want you to get him out of here. As well. 80 over 40 with fluid. How much fluid?
Right now we have 500.
I'm telling him to pick him up and get him out.
It's going to be on. It's going to be on.
Go ahead.
You think it might hurt?
Yes. Kev. He's safe. He's fine. We just got to get him out. He's got a needle in his chest. How's your patient right now?
All right, so I'm reassessing the bleeding is still controlled with my care. He's still controlled, and mine needs to go first. He's still hypoxic.
What?
Gonna hit the take off the
here. No. He's here, but is it the best day I've seen him?
Your armor? All right, let's talk about that. All right, let's see.
You know this is a big deal, right?
Okay, so I'm looking
I see the
for
blood, man.
progress.
Why is he still bleeding?
We're going to apply pressure. Keep putting your hands right over there. We're going to...
Alright, SD is rolling up on your location now.
You can't lose this much blood, right? That's bad.
1 minute away.
46 on the stack, 80 over 40.
What's the word on transport?
Index, great job, everybody. Please, woohoo! Please keep all interventions in place. Do not remove any of your clinical interventions. All the teams, turn around so you can face your live and streaming audience so we can give you a round of applause. Woo! Great job to all.
Once they come up with like a plus or minus.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Keep going.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. OSHA, OSHA. OSHA. Okay.
Hello, everyone. If everyone could take their seats, we have a speaker for this evening's session, our educational portion. All right. Everybody get the pizza and their water. That was a joke. All right, let's get started so we can get the next team in here. But first, as Jen talked about, rail safety, worker safety, and patient safety goals. Guys, if we could just keep it down a little bit in the back. Thank you. So we asked our partner, our federal partner, OSHA, to come and talk to all of you, which we thought was really important, again, to talk about worker safety. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mike Corbett from OSHA, Compliance Specialist.
Wow. Look at that, I made the lights come on. Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Corbett. I'm with Federal OSHA. I've been with the OSHA family of products now for approximately 22, 23 years. I've held several different positions within the agency, everything from compliance to enforcement, settling cases. So what does that mean? I've been lied to a lot. Okay. Anyway, we're going to talk about what OSHA does, who we're covered. Primarily, OSHA as an enforcement agency, we cover private sector workers, but we have a myriad of other responsibilities. Can you gentlemen in the back hear me? Thank you. Okay. One of the things we have to work on is we have to realize that today, if today is like any other day, I'm going to drive you nuts going back and forth, aren't I? Anyway, if today is like any other day, 14 workers are going to leave their homes, go to work, and not return. That is an average. We know pretty much that on average 14 workers are not going to come home. Multiply that by 30 days in a month. What's that number? Everybody's got cell phones. 400 and change? 420, okay. That's more than the average airliner that was flying around above you. If you knew that once a month one of those planes was going to fall out of the sky, what wouldn't you do? Of course not. But we don't have that luxury. We have to go to work. We all sometimes have very hazardous jobs, and we put ourselves at risk. OSHA wants to see everybody come home with all their fingers and toes. They want us to come home intact. I work with an amazing group of people. That is their quest. That is their mission. That is the agency's mission. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the agency. Okay? These are states where we have different approved programs. We have OSHA-approved state programs, federal OSHA, private sector, and most federal employees. And then we have New Jersey-approved state programs. And what that means is public workers are covered by POSHAs, public employees OSHA, okay? And private sector workers are covered by federal OSHA, my branch. Next, please. Okay. What gets us out on an inspection? All right. We have complaints. We get many, many complaints. We have to categorize those complaints. We have to establish, are they valid complaints? Do they have any substance? What kind of accompanying information do they have? We get referrals. We love to get referrals from police agencies. We get many, many from the state police. We love to get referrals from EMS. Why? Because you are qualified and you make very good referrals. You give us a lot of information, a lot of details, okay, because that is what you do. All right? Employer-reported injury. There are reporting requirements for employers to report injuries of certain magnitudes. Fatalities have to be reported within 8 hours. There's a very stiff penalty for not reporting within 8 hours. Programmed inspections. Those are inspections that occurred in high-hazard industries, such as the printing industry, the warehousing industry. And for a while it was nursing homes. Now construction has always been at the top of the list. Okay? Imminent danger situations. If we encounter or are informed about an imminent danger, meaning it's likely to cause serious injury or a fatality, we will respond very quickly. Next, please. Okay. These are the top 10 hazards and most frequently cited citations in construction industry. Number 1, falls. I always said if we did away with gravity, half my work would be gone. Okay? Not going to happen. All right. Next, please. Fall hazards. We have 3 heights that fall into or kick in the standards for fall protection. One is 6 feet for general industry, 10 feet for a scaffold. Height. We are going to ask you that you have fall protection of some way, shape, or form. Okay? Next, please. Fall hazards. This is called walking the plate. Construction workers sometimes like to walk the plate when they're setting the trusses on the roof. This is not a prefab. This is a stick-built house. And the workers up there are walking that 3.5-inch wide plate on the top of the roof. Very common for workers to fall off of that, depending if it's a second, third story. You can imagine how bad the injuries are. You've probably seen the worst of the worst. Next, please. This one is a crop full of hazards, okay? One thing I've always noticed, or I've become to notice through my years of doing inspections, that individuals with a shaved or bald head believe they do not need hard hats. I don't know why, but every time I encounter somebody without a hard hat, typically they don't have any hair. Okay. What you see here is a lull. It's a rough terrain forklift where they put a pallet on, and I can see that there's 2 workers on it. Funny thing about that picture, the gentleman in the baseball cap is the guy who drove the lull. The lull is out in traffic idling. With the keys, keys are in it, it's idling. So he decided to go up the ladder and help his buddy out. Okay? It's also within 10 feet of electric lines. Okay? You cannot work within 10 feet of power lines. Next, please. Struck by hazards. Some of these are case file pictures. Struck by hazards. It is not uncommon for workers to want to be in the same hole that an operator is using a backhoe or excavating device. Common practice is to remove that person from the trench or the hole while they're operating the backhoe. Typically what happens is the operator loses sight of the individual in the trench and strikes them with the bucket. Okay? Work zones. How many of you have responded to an MVA where the work zones, okay, and the traffic becomes a hazard? I'm sure many of you have. There is something called MUTCD, the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. It's a set of rules that are in place from the Federal Highway Administration that tell you how to set up a work zone. In this particular case, that taper or that line that closes the lane is far too short, and there is no type of attenuation device protecting the workers. And the same thing would go for if there was an accident. The use of attenuator trucks now is becoming more and more frequent. They are readily available, and many times you will see them at a motor vehicle accident because they're nearby. DOT has many, many of them on the roads. Next, please. Caught between hazards. We call it caught between, I call it trench collapses. Trench collapses usually result in a recovery type situation. Soil weighs a great deal, and typically workers in a trench are in a very prone position. They're bent over, they're working on a pipe or something of that nature, and when the soil collapses, it falls on top of them, creating a very bad situation. Most trench collapses, like I said, result in a fatality as opposed to a rescue. Okay. Next, please. Caught in. I can't tell you how many times our 4 area offices in New Jersey have to deal with somebody who's been riding a piece of construction equipment. This particular gentleman was standing on that front bar, those forks there, while his buddy was bouncing down the road on a forklift. You can see the effects of it. Anybody know what a front end loader is? Big bucket, large tires, bounces down the road. I can't tell you how many times we've encountered people riding those things because they don't want to walk back to the job trailer or walk back to their car. They usually get shaken off, and they usually get caught under the rear tires. Okay? Riding, many times I see workers that are being elevated in a bucket, lifted up. Very common to see this during the holiday season when they are stringing lights or banners, okay, or garland across roadways. A lot of times a worker will be standing in the bucket, they'll lift them up in a backhoe, on the front end of a backhoe, and elevate them up to the proper height. That is definitely not a good thing. Next, please. Lockout, tagout, machine guarding, and amputations. Anybody know what lockout, tagout is? Yes, give me an idea. Elevator, okay, lockout, tagout. Basically, control the energy. If you're going to be working on a piece of equipment that has the potential to start up or function while they're working on it, it has to be locked out. There has to be a process in place. We have a whole program that you put a lock on a control device to keep that energy contained so it does not activate. This typically happens in older equipment that doesn't have the ability to be locked out, and they don't go to the electrical source, okay? Machine guarding. Most common you hear about is saws, band saws, presses. I'm going really fast because I only know I have got like 25 minutes here. So you're getting a crash course in OSHA. Okay, next please. Electrical hazards. Electrical hazards typically are very, very serious. They usually result in a severe burn, if not death. Okay. I think the next slide is the power lines. Yes. We respond to many, many accidents where construction equipment or workers with ladders contact the power lines. All right. This is one of those situations that I urge you, if you see somebody or a construction company or somebody with a ladder getting close to the power lines, say something, because it never goes well. And the rule on it is 10 feet. But on a humid day, a lot of moisture in the air, I've seen arcs come off a very 35 kilovolt line and arc 10 to 15 feet to a piece of equipment, if the conditions are right. Next, please. This was a case that we had a long time ago. Basically, this was a temporary worker. We're working for a contractor. His second day on the job, the contractor told him to go cut that cable. So we eagerly wanted to impress his employer. He took a pair of diagonal cutters and cut the line, and this is what it resulted in. This is why you need lockout, tagout, and you have to have some awareness of the hazards that you're working with. This is a federal requirement that employers train the workers as to the hazards in their industries. Next, please. Penalties. This is what we get involved in, okay? Our penalties per violation, per citation, $12,000. Most case files go out our doors with carrying about 4 or 5 citations, okay? A willful. That means somebody knowingly violated a federal safety and health standard, and the employer could be penalized as much as $126,000. Failure to abate. If you do not correct the hazards, that's what our penalty is per day. Okay, next please. Okay. This is our newest standard, and I'm sure when you're out and about in the world, you have seen these clouds of silica dust. Silica dust is just as harmful as the big A. What's the big A? Asbestos, okay? We know that there are more than 600 deaths per year related to silica. The problem we have is proving it, and we have to work on our data collection. But those are the numbers associated with silicosis. 900 new cases a year. A lot of the new cases are coming from the landscaping industry and ready mix that's being mixed on the job site. You've seen cement trucks where they actually mix cement at the job site. Those are where we're getting a lot of new cases. I urge you, if you see somebody that's in that cloud of dust, get them out. It's hazardous. I have a great deal of difficulty explaining this to our local law enforcement when they're working a job out on a roadway and they have this big cloud of dust from a contractor and they insist on standing in the big cloud of dust. And I try to explain to them that this is not very healthy for you. What you're inhaling can cause severe illnesses and respiratory distress. Next, please. We drive around, we see it all the time, and we have to basically stop. Okay. One of the questions I usually get is, do we work during normal business hours? The answer to that is no. All of my compliance officers work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We can be called out on accidents any time. We can stop at a job site or an accident scene at any time. We have right of entry to very many industries. If we have to see a hazard, basically, to have right of entry. Next, please. I must say this is the first time I've ever done a presentation at a disaster site. Okay, it's kind of unusual, but we have a very large role in our nation's emergency response system. And next, please. Basically, we're part of the National Disaster Recovery Framework. We are basically activated by FEMA, Homeland Security, and we are responsible for worker safety and health and support annex. It's basically an addendum in there, and it says that we are responsible for all the workers that go onto a site and perform any type of task. This was very prevalent after any of the major storms and the World Trade Center. Okay. Next, please. We do risk assessments. Identification, assessment, and control of health and safety hazards. Why did they ask us to do that? Because we have the equipment to do it. We have the trained professionals that can do it. We can take air samples and air monitoring and turn them into statistics and tell you where it is safe to go and where you cannot go. Okay? We also have a staff of engineers in Washington that are very talented. Okay? Development of health and safety plans. This comes into play as the disaster or the event starts to play out, and you want to know what are the continued hazards that are out there. Worker exposure monitoring. We do personal air monitoring. We did a lot of it at the World Trade Center. Basically, if we believe that there's some type of exposure that we're concerned with, we're going to hang a pump on a worker. Okay. PPE, okay. Incident-specific worker and safety health. That came into play at Paulsboro during the rail car incident. Next. These are some of our past responses. Okay. Trade Center, I was there for that one. I did approximately 39 12-hour shifts. Sandy, obviously, I had a large role in that. Train derailment in Paulsboro, and most recently, response to Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. We had a large presence there also. Next. That was our command center during the Trade Center incident. Next, please. We talked about air sampling. This is some of the bulk air sampling that we were doing at the time. Next. Katrina, we had a myriad of hazards. There was a lot of worker hazards that were out there. One of the big things we had to deal with was biologics. What do I refer to as biologics? Snakes, little creepy crawly things, they were everywhere. Okay, next please. Katrina, they had a large number of rail cars that were dislodged from the rails. Sandy was unique. We had, in both of these incidents, we had workers that were died after the event, and we try not to have that happen. We also get a very large volunteer presence from around the nation. Volunteer groups come in, and we get a lot of accidents. Sometimes we get church groups that show up with a busload of eager young adults, and they show up in sneakers, okay, T-shirts, okay? They want a sledgehammer and a crowbar, and they're going to tear down walls. They're going to do a lot of work, but we have to take time to train them, and so we don't get the infamous sledgehammer through the wet wall. With Sandy, we had a very unique problem because of the amount of debris. This event created a huge amount of debris where they hired outside contractors to actually remove it. And when one incident, they had a dump truck or a truck that had a claw on it that picked up the curbside debris and deposited it into the container. Well, at one point, the claw reached down and picked up something, a propane cylinder. And you can imagine how that didn't go over so well, okay? We're talking about debris. The debris that came off the boardwalks, that was huge. The amount of reconstruction and boardwalk work and the recovery efforts that took place for the years afterward, we were very involved in the planning stages of that. We were involved in the inspection of the job sites. Next, please. These are our 4 area offices. I encourage you, and I'll make this information available, I encourage you, if you have a safety and health concern, an occupational safety and health concern, contact one of the area offices. They will be eager to hear from you. Next. Questions. I went really quick because I only had a small window. Questions. I couldn't have been that thorough. Not in that amount of time. Okay, the question was, for silica dust, what PPE should you be wearing? Our new standard, we want you to use control mechanisms other than PPE. We want you to use water. Water is very, very effective. And you know, and a lot of the new equipment that's coming out there, whether it be milling machines that are massive or simple K-saws, they all have water injection devices. Water controls silica dust very effectively. And with the new standard, if you're using the proper amount of water, you're not going to have to use respiratory protection. Respiratory protection is very difficult on the workers. You put a respirator on a worker, you have to have a medical evaluation for that worker to make sure that they can wear a respirator. Also, the other part of it is it creates a great deal of fatigue because your body has to draw air through those cartridges effectively to keep you going. It's hot, it's sweaty, it's sticky in those respirators. Okay, so if you can use water on silica, that's what we encourage that. Other questions? Yes, sir. You can contact through either through your normal dispatch system or directly from your cell phone. If you can say that you're on a roadside accident and the worker was injured due to XYZ, struck by an excavator, run over by a back truck, we will be happy to take that information from you. Okay? Trained professionals as yourselves, we encourage those kind of referrals. We do a lot of training for police and fire, and we would love to have EMS participate in it. One thing that is available to you that I encourage you is through our Atlantic Outreach Center at Rutgers. We have a course. It's called 7600. It's Disaster Site Worker. It's a 40-hour course, and you get fully credentialed to respond to disaster sites. Please take advantage of it. If you have trouble finding it, the good doctor knows how to find me. Other questions? Because she's going to yank. I'll get the hook any second.
I see lawn care services all the time, and every time I drive by them, I go, these people are not going to be able to hear in about 10 years because I don't see anyone wearing ear protection. Is that an issue with those guys?
Yes, it is. The gentleman's question was lawn care or landscaping companies that are using power tools or big K-saws, hearing protection. Yes. If you're exposed to more than 85 decibels over a time-weighted average of 8 hours, you're definitely going to suffer repetitive hearing loss, or rapid hearing loss, I should say, excuse me. And yes, we do cite that quite often. The hearing protection will basically, we know that some pieces of equipment with certain blades are going to cause X amount of noise, but we also are going to do some type of sampling to be sure at that particular site or that particular incident that they're exceeding that 85 decibels. Any other questions? This is your opportunity to stump OSHA. Let's go. Well, no other questions. Thank you very much for your time. Okay.
I have a report of an MCI at Hoboken train station. Train into the station.
100 patients with entrapment and rescue. Train into a station. 4 ambulance strike teams, 2 MABs, and an MCRU.
We have breaking news from New Jersey, where a train packed with commuters crashed into a station a short time ago. This happened in Hoboken, just across the Hudson River from New York City's financial district. Witnesses say the train ran into the station at high speed.
Right at the height of rush hour, too, there are preliminary reports of many injuries. Police and fire crews are at the scene right now. CBS Evening News executive producer Steve Kappas is at the Hoboken station and joins us now live on the phone. Steve, what can you tell us? What happened?
Well, Nora, what I'm seeing right now are probably about 60 or 70 people. They each have tags around their necks. They have been assessed by emergency medical personnel in this triage process, and the more severely injured are being whisked out of here on ambulances and stretchers.
Corticans, REMS, as the incident has escalated, repeat, the incident has escalated, requesting 4 additional MABs, 2 additional MCRUs forthwith to the job.
I can't, man. I can't get it off you. I don't know what to do.
Stop crying, buddy. It's okay,
I can't get it off you.
He's crying.
They'll be here in a minute, man. They'll be here in a minute.
I don't know. Do we take this off?
I can't. It's too heavy.
I heard that we're not supposed to move him. Listen, now, don't get him freaked out. Come on, come on.
You're trapped. You're hidden in here, man.
He's all right. He's all right. Buddy, you're all right. We're going to go to the zoo.
You're hidden here.
All right, we still got to go to the zoo, my friend.
The fire department's on the way.
Okay, is there help coming?
They're coming. They're going to be here. I can't
Everybody got a phone these days.
I don't know what to do.
Oh, Connor, it's all right, but stop crying. It's all right, buddy. It's okay. That guy looks messed up.
I need help. I need help to do that. I can't do
Is
that.
there anybody coming?
I can't.
Stop asking if he's alive, please. You're going to freak him out. It's okay, pal. It's all right. All right, but the helpers are coming. The helpers are coming.
I can't get it off of you. I can't get it off of you.
It's all right.
Oh my God, there's so much.
Yeah, hello. Someone needs to help us here. Someone needs to help us. Go get help.
Oh my God.
They're here. I see them. The fire department's coming.
Oh my God.
They're coming. They're coming now.
Over there. I see somebody coming.
They're coming now. They'll be here any minute.
Someone needs to help my
I can't
nephew.
get it off of you.
All right, buddy. All right. Okay, but I don't know what this is all
I can't get it off of you, bud. I can't get it off you, bro. Just relax. They're here. They're coming in. They're coming in now. They're coming in. I see them. I need help. I can't do it by myself.
All right, Connor. All right, pal.
How could you do that?
What are they doing?
No
Like,
shit.
they need to get over
Get
here.
out of here. Go away.
Like, I don't understand what's
They're here. I
happening.
see
Get
the
that
fire.
camera out of my face. Get out of here.
I can't get it off of
Get
you.
that camera out of my nephew's face. Now.
God, help. You gotta help me.
Hello.
You gotta help me. My
Hello.
brother's stuck.
Anybody?
She's
fine.
My brother's stuck.
Yo, she's fine. Someone else come over here.
He's bleeding all over the place. You gotta help me.
Someone cares
Up
about
here.
her.
I don't know where this is
Oh,
from.
yo, with a patch. Yo, come on over. I
He's
need help.
stuck. We gotta get him out of here. We gotta get him to the
Somebody
hospital.
here. Oh, big one. Come on. Let's go. Come on.
Just have a seat.
I need help.
Just give me a second. Have a seat.
He's
You gotta help me get him out of here.
He's trying, but there are pipes.
We gotta get the train wreck.
How old are you?
I'm not leaving my brother. I'm not leaving my brother.
Come on, we gotta come outside.
Hey,
Whoa.
Pain, honey?
He's crying. He's
I'm not
crying.
leaving.
But there's pipes all over.
Okay, great. What is your name?
I don't understand. What does that mean? What does that mean? That's not helping him.
Got it.
Oh, good. Who are you? Come over here.
We gotta
That is, I don't know what the hell that means. Joe, how you doing? My nephew, he's got shit all over him.
Why is he bleeding?
He's crying. He's crying. He's crying. He's crying. All right, buddy. Someone's here to help you. We can help that guy.
Do you know where you
Bro,
are?
you're bleeding a lot, bro.
Train station. Okay, no, sir.
We gotta do
Yeah,
something.
I need you to stay with me.
All right, buddy.
No, not okay.
What are you
Do me a
doing?
favor, have a seat.
Come on, buddy. It's all right. Who are you?
Sticking your finger.
Do me a
Who
favor.
are you? I need help over here.
Do me a favor. Can you stay with
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. No, get off.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to stay with me.
I'm here to help you. What do you need?
I'm not leaving.
Just give me 1 second.
Not doing. Well, all right, buddy. It's all right. Calm down. They're going to help you, we think. Someone needs to do something.
Here, follow me.
Oh, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is that? What are you doing?
What do you
That's
need?
a lot of stuff. Something's got to work. What are you going to do? All right, buddy. All right, buddy.
Call me.
All right, pal.
Chief to dispatch, we're gonna need
What are you doing to him?
for control. How many patients?
Dan, you all right?
Autism. Well, he's kind of turning. What are you doing? He's not really.
Can't we get him out of here?
No, I'm sorry.
Connor is not that I know. Get that camera out of here before I break it over your skull. All right? What does cyanosis mean? What is the First Amendment?
Abuse of rule.
What is that?
What is this you're doing to him?
What
are you doing?
1 second.
Just slide back and get my job better.
I got more than 2 greens right now.
All right, but
what are you doing? What is this?
Kev, what do you got?
Connor, buddy, what are you doing? We gotta go to the zoo.
We
We're
need
not
to
gonna
get
go
my brother
today.
out of here.
We're not taking the train no more.
We gotta get him to the hospital. He's got a hole in his
All
chest.
right,
We gotta get him out of here.
Here, you guys follow me.
What?
I'm gonna need you guys to
Dan, are you all right?
His arm is still bleeding.
follow me.
Are you all right, bud?
Where are we going?
Bro, are you okay? Talk to me, bro.
All right.
Talk to me, bro.
My phone's over.
Okay, don't worry about your phone. More important.
my phone. I gotta order it in here.
All right.
He's not really acting right
Is he
now.
still bleeding? What's going on? Is he still
What's that
bleeding?
do?
I'm not leaving my brother.
Green.
I'm staying right here. I'm not leaving.
Guys,
I'm not leaving my brother.
additional resources. What do you need?
He's my little brother. I gotta take care of him.
He's not.
I can get that for you. Okay.
I don't care where your phone is. Get out of here.
Are you all right, bud?
Additional
Get him
Are you all
out of
right?
here. You're looking for his phone.
Dan, are you
Guys,
okay?
what do you need?
Who are you? They keep coming, but no one does anything. I don't understand.
I don't know.
All right, buddy. I'm gonna fix you myself.
Can't we get out of here? Why can't we get my brother out of here?
We gotta get this off him. We gotta get him out of here.
Come with me.
We get my brother out of here. We're gonna get you out of here, man. I don't know how. I don't know what we're gonna do.
Yeah, we need somebody to do something. We gotta get this crap off of him.
Somebody.
I need a patient
Somebody come
count.
help my
I
brother.
You're back.
need resources. I need to know what you guys need.
Where's the fire department?
Come
We
with me.
gotta help him.
What's an IO?
I don't know.
Who are you?
What do you
Get
need
this
for
camera
this
out of here.
Talking
Go
to me.
away.
I don't know what you did.
What
Now
is
we
your
can't talk.
There's so many people. No one's doing
How many
anything.
patients got triage?
My nephew's gonna die. What does that mean?
What's happening?
I don't understand. I don't understand. You know what?
Okay. How many
Done.
people
All
in
right,
here?
well, whatever.
Okay.
Why are you taking his clothes off? What's happening?
Police.
What are you doing? What is that? That's what I use at work.
3 red.
No, I don't know about that.
What are you doing?
With that?
We need a what?
What is an IO needle?
Red. And
What is that? How you
Untitled
doing?
Chapter.
Where you going?
I'm requesting.
Yeah.
We need more.
Where?
That's correct.
What's
Yeah.
happening?
Why are you holding my hand?
You gotta tell me what's happening to him.
Here,
Little
here.
brother, we gotta
More
take care of him.
more FD, more
My mom's gonna kill me if anything happens.
Right now we have 3 red tags, 2 in trap.
You were just going out for lunch because you got a new job. What's going on with him? Why can't he breathe?
Okay.
Why isn't he talking to me?
Safety. FD's about 12 minutes out.
I know that. Why? What's happening?
I need police are coming.
You did it with what?
Incident command to
Connor, buddy, you all right?
additional police.
What are you doing?
Additional vehicles are responding.
There's nothing there. Why do you like his chest? There's no bleeding or
Thank you.
anything.
Come on, buddy. You're going to be all right, right?
I know.
He's going to be okay, right?
No, you're not. Come this way.
You need to get out of here, Zach.
Yep, come this way.
Goodbye.
I'm gonna help you. You gotta come this
Goodbye.
way. Come this way.
How are you going to do that? What are you
Come
doing?
this way. Yep.
helping him.
Come this way.
Whoa, that's a big needle.
I need someone to do something for him. Now.
It's all right. It's all right.
What
bro.
are you
It's all
doing?
right. It's all right.
Triage. How many greens you
What are
got
you
so
doing?
far?
What is that?
What's up, you?
Whoa. What is that?
Is that going to help him?
5 greens right now.
What did you
Touch
just
him
do?
in the face.
You just
What
put a needle
is
in his chest,
happening?
and what are you supposed to be helping him? Why are you stabbing him with the needle?
This is really bad. I'm in so much trouble.
Count at nearest
I am in
hospitals.
a lot of trouble. Connor bed. It's okay, buddy. It's
What
okay.
are you doing? How are you helping him out? You just stuck him in the chest.
No, they said not to move it. The fire department.
How's that going to help him breathe?
They're not coming.
What do you got? What do you need?
What does that mean?
What do you do?
Hey.
Who are you?
What is
I'm
the
the
intention?
incident command chief.
Oh, good. Oh, a chief? That means you're in charge, right? We got to get him out of here.
Okay. Who are you?
I'm his uncle.
Oh, you're his uncle.
Yeah. Okay.
Dan,
Very
bro,
good.
you all right? You with me?
So, what are we going to do about getting him out of here?
I'm requesting additional.
Can you hear me? Dan,
How long is that going to take?
come on, man.
I'll
Stay with me.
I know,
We're going to get you out of here.
Please do.
I don't know how.
Oh, you're back. Where'd you go?
We're going to get you out of here. Why can't we get him out of here?
I've heard fires on the way
Shut
like
up.
4 times now.
ETA on medvac?
4 times.
What do we got to do to get him out of here? He
We're
needs a
back to this
hospital, right?
again. What? He doesn't want anything to drink. What do you want fluids for? What is
How
that?
many greens do you have right now? 7 greens. Shelby, do I still have 3?
I don't know. From who?
What does that mean? Is he going to be okay? Is he going to be
We
all
don't
right?
know. We don't know. I don't even know what's happening. They're right, buddy.
Got it. He's still 2 people
Oh,
in
he's turning
transfer,
blue
correct?
again. This is bad. This,
I have 7 greens right
I'm
now.
not dad. I'm his uncle.
Dan, you okay, Dan?
Better.
That is the proper size.
7 green, 3
What does
red. I
that
have 2 in
mean?
traffic still,
He's
correct?
not talking. Why isn't he talking?
Oh, yeah.
He was okay a couple minutes ago.
2 in traffic.
And he stuck all this stuff in him and he stopped talking.
Contractor.
Kevin,
Come over with
what
her.
do you got? He's in traffic
He
still,
was
correct?
okay.
Somebody, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
We need fire here. I don't want to get
They
out.
gave him, okay?
If we pull that out,
Ow,
we'll
ow. That's okay.
Chief of Communications, do we have an update
What
on
is that?
fire, the ETA?
What, is this going to work? What's that? Is that pain meds? That's pain meds?
Anything I can help you with?
Yeah, did you get a time yet on that transport they were
You're
talking
okay right
about?
now? Okay.
Apparently
What
not.
do we do for him? How do we get him out of here? How do we get him to the hospital?
I'm still waiting for
I
fire.
gotta get him to the hospital. He's
So
gotta
you're
be
safe.
okay.
I hear fire one more time and the word waiting, I'm going to be really upset.
Do you want me to take the uncle?
Apparently everyone's having the same problem. Where'd you go?
Why can't we get him out of here?
What?
You gotta help him out. Can we get him out of here? Somebody, can we get him out
What
of here?
did you just do to my
We gotta
nephew?
get my brother out of here. He's got a needle
What
in
does
his
that mean?
chest.
Do you still have 7?
bone
1, 2,
drill.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Who's
Holy
he?
crap.
Who is he? Triage. Who is he?
You better be right.
Why is you?
Okay.
It's all right, buddy. I'm sorry
Oh, my
if that
God.
hurt. I mean,
9. I have 9 green.
need a doctor.
Red. 2 are still in
We need
traffic
a
this
doctor.
time. Still waiting on fire.
All right, if you say so. Listen. All right.
Dan, come on, Dan. stay
Sure,
with me.
I'll hold this.
You gonna stick him again?
Do you need anything from me right now?
Why didn't it work the first time?
I know. Is this working? Are you sure? How do you know?
Sir, do me a favor. Can you just do me a favor?
Am I helping?
Supporting. Can you just
Oh
support
my
for
God!
me?
You gotta stick another needle in
Is
his
there
chest.
firemen coming?
Holy cow!
Okay. I'm still waiting for.
Where's that fireman that I keep hearing about? And no one ever shows up?
now.
Oh my God!
I've been told that.
It's all right, bro. It's all right, bro.
Where'd that little one go?
What do you need?
The one in the
So I'm
back.
still waiting for fire.
Apparently.
Yeah, we're waiting
Oh
on fire.
my
Okay.
God!
I have ETA on fire. I have.
Is he better now? Is that helping him?
What's happening?
I have 9 green tags at this time.
One every 5 to 6.
What?
Yeah, so he has
Oh.
2 entrapped.
For what? Come on, bro. Come on.
Entrapped.
You're doing it.
Somebody got to.
Is that going to help him? All right.
He's not talking.
All right. As long as someone's doing something, I don't care. All right, Connor, buddy. You'll be all right.
Why isn't he getting better? You said that was
Do you have an answer for me?
Shelby,
Where'd she
you're
go?
up to 11 green. You have 11 green at this time.
Where'd that girl go?
I have 11 green.
It's like, bro, it's all right, bro. It's all right.
Intubate. That means the tube down the
Bro,
throat.
you were in action, man.
You keep coming back.
Stay with me. Just breathe. Just try to breathe. Just try to breathe. Come on.
Incident commander dispatch. We're still waiting on an
thank
ETA
you.
for fire.
Why are we still here? Where's the fire department?
I think they're lying to
Where's
you.
the stretchers? Where's the doctors?
Why
isn't there anyone else here? Why can't we get them out?
Your fire is still 10 minutes out. At
Third
this
place
time.
is well
Shelby.
good.
Shelby.
Bro, you okay?
Do you know anything?
Can you breathe
Fire's
now? Are you
still
okay?
10 minutes out.
10 minutes
feel
out.
better?
I did that 40 minutes ago.
You stuck a needle in your chest, man. You
What?
just relax. Just relax. Yeah.
ETA.
My God, I've never seen it.
Fire's
All
still 10 minutes out.
right. You say so.
No,
I hope so. Because otherwise my sister's going to be pissed.
Do you need anything?
I am good right now.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Can I get one of those too?
9 green at this time, 3 red. Still 2 entrapped. Fire is.
What do you mean it's
about 9
not going?
minutes
You
out
said
at
this is
time.
going to work.
Is he doing okay? Is he going to be all right?
I don't. This is bad.
Holy cow, he's got a needle in his chest.
Nobody's walked away, right?
Is he going to be okay now? He is?
Has not changed.
Okay, got it.
Bro,
that
he
bad?
said he's going to be all right.
Yeah.
He said you're going to be okay.
He's turning that
He said
funny
you're going to be
color
all right,
again.
man. We're going to get you out of here,
What do
okay?
you need?
What is
Got
that?
it.
As
I
soon as
thought
we
we
get
had one
you,
in that
Go
like
ahead,
OI
Sam.
or IO or whatever.
Right now.
as soon as,
Him right here, okay?
you going to get him out now?
Something's got to work. This is bad. It's all right, buddy. I'm sorry.
Are you here to help get him out?
I don't think we're going to the zoo today. We'll go
So
tomorrow.
let's get him out.
We're not taking the train.
Let's get him out.
Nothing's moving. Nothing's moving at all. We have not moved
We got to
anything.
get him to the hospital now, right?
No.
Bro, you okay?
He's still a red tag, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know. I don't know
Am I
why
still
we're
holding
still
That
here.
just means that they're doing everything.
Why are we still here?
I'll try.
Aren't we supposed to go to the hospital now?
That's what we're trying to do at this time, ma'am. Yes.
I'm squeezing as much as I
Why
can.
can't
What the hell's
Where's the
capnography?
stretchers? Where's the
Tell me, what do you
ambulance?
mean? Still waiting on transport.
All right.
We still have 3
All right.
reds at this
So this
time.
is all
2
helping?
are still in traffic.
I mean, I'm just.
Over there.
That's what I'd like to know when we're getting them out of
I
here.
think
Arm
so.
over here.
I think so. Yeah. No,
I know.
All right. Yeah.
Air's not going in.
All right.
That can't be good.
We're gonna get you out of here, Dan. We're gonna get you out of here.
Communications ETA on fire and additional transport units.
Whoa.
Are you able to breathe? Are you okay?
I don't understand.
All right. Yeah.
Fire is 5 minutes away, and the additional transport is also 6 minutes away.
Received.
I've always been the lucky
Is
one.
anybody coming to help us?
Give me 1 minute.
Is anybody
Fire
coming to help
is
us
5
at all?
minutes out. Additional
Today?
transport units are 6 minutes.
You sure?
Fire 5 minutes out. Additional.
I hope
How do
so,
you get out
because
of
this is
here?
bad. We've been here a long time.
Carry him?
It's 6 minutes out.
Let's carry him.
What are you doing?
All right.
Left my side.
What
Fire is 5
is
minutes
this?
out.
You just stabbed my nephew. He doesn't have enough
Can
problems.
you help get him out?
Can I help you with anything over here? Or you're okay?
Yeah, I'd like to know how they just
Fire
stabbed
is
my
5
nephew in
minutes
the
out.
throat.
Five. We're gonna get him out in 5 minutes.
I'm still waiting on fire
Okay.
transport. 5-6 minutes out.
You're trapped. You got pipes on your foot, man.
What's that stat?
You got a pipe on your foot.
6 minutes out at this point.
Part of the roof came down. You got a pipe on your foot, man. We're gonna get you out of here.
Shelby.
No, they're not coming. I heard that 40 minutes ago.
That's what we need to worry about, right? We need to.
That was 50 minutes ago.
What about all these guys? Can't we get them to help carry them out? They're all doing nothing. Can't we get them to carry them out? I don't know, bro. I don't know what's going on.
Connor, you all right? Can he hear me?
I don't know why there's not more people.
Well, what's funny? What? That was not funny.
Again? You put 2 needles in his chest.
I can't see.
Okay,
I can't see now.
No black tags at this point right now.
Can we also request just a regular transport bus to get these folks out as best as we possibly can?
Bro, you got a needle in your chest.
He's
man.
on
What about one in your
Richmond.
arm?
Keep the communication.
You keep
Additional
saying that.
resources for
I don't see no
9
help
green
coming.
tags at this time.
They're on the way. Oh, I gotta put this up, right? Oh, sorry.
What else do we got to do? What else?
You're doing a great job too. I'm really proud of you for helping us out and holding that up like that.
It's been 3 days.
He's going to be okay, right? You're going to be able to...
It feels like it's been 3 days.
He's got another needle, bro. He's got another needle.
Shelby, who's your more severe friend?
He's got another needle for you.
They better go out first. He's got pipes
And
all
your
over
second?
him. He's only 7 years old.
Got
Where's
it.
them firemen?
Why are there not more people
Yeah.
here?
Whoa, I heard
So
that.
my first priority red is going to be the pediatric patient.
Well, clearly, because he has no idea what's going on.
Endex. Great job, everybody. Please leave all interventions in place. Team members, turn around and say hi to your friends and family live, and good job. Thank you for playing along. And let's have a round of applause.
Awesome. Do you want me to close it out or? Want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Hope you enjoyed the show. Remember, tomorrow night at the awards program, we'll be announcing who the top winners are who will take home the Sim Cup. So please make sure you join us tomorrow night. It'll also be broadcasted live via the internet. So we want to see you tomorrow night. Please, if you can't join us in person, make sure you log in and join us online. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Have a good night.